Even though most of us pros and DIYers probably use pneumatic tools to install molding on our projects, there's a little more to it than point and shoot. I'm Mark Clement, and today we're going to run through some tips and tricks for installing TruChoice moldings on projects. New construction, remodeling, old houses, check it out. When it comes to installing base molding, which I typically do last after I install my vertical moldings, I want to get a good, solid, and dependable connection to the framing, and I also don't want to make any unnecessary marks or holes, which will slow me down later when we paint and finish the molding. So I have a couple of tricks that make it a little easier down the road. First, we find our stud locations in the wall. That's easy enough. And we're going to mark them. I prefer to mark them on the floor as opposed to the wall, so I don't have to cover them later or deal with primer or anything like that. If I can't make the mark on the floor directly, I'll either put down rosin paper, I'll work off a subfloor, I'll make a small mark that I can cover with shoe molding later, or I'll use painter's tape and I'll just put it down, and that way I can nail and work fast without having to do extra work later. For this molding, we're using TruChoice Mdf Base Molding. It's made from radiata pine, which is sourced from a sustainable forest, and it is double coated with primer, ready for a smooth finish. So for this, typically I'm going to use an angled finish nailer. Now sometimes if you over nail MDF molding, something happens called volcanoing, or the surface is damaged, and what we want to do is minimize that as much as possible. So first, nailing location. My first nail always goes in low. There's two reasons for that. One, it's going to get covered by shoe molding, and two, the bottom plate in the wall is typically there. In most new construction, of course, old houses is hit or miss, but I'd probably be hitting lath and plaster. So I put that nail in low, it gets covered. The next nail is going to go in right here. That way I get a straight-on connection to my stud, and a third nail on a base this tall I use to tack it down and bring it to the wall. That's really important in old houses where the walls really meander. Now, the volcanoing, the damage to the surface, is caused by overdriving nails, and there are a couple of really simple ways to minimize exposure to this. And on most nailers, it's as simple as adjusting your depth of drive. The volcano is a result of the nail head going in too far and too hard. If it keeps happening, if you keep overdriving your nail even after adjustment, there are different densities in woods. Old Douglas fir and framing in a 110-year-old house is going to be different than new SPF in a 10-year-old house. So it is easy enough to simply switch out and use brads. A brad is simply a thinner, smaller nail, and in conjunction with a high-quality adhesive caulk, the molding is going to stay put. It's double coated with primer, so it's going to take paint beautifully, surface damage will be minimal, and when you finish later, some spackle or some good quality wood filler should take care of all those nail holes that you don't hide when you nail. I hope you found these tips useful for your next molding installation. I'm Mark Clement. Thanks for watching. Arauco stands by their products, which is why the TruChoice name is stamped on the back of every piece of molding. For more information or to locate a distributor, visit TruChoiceMolding.com.